Welcome back, everyone. You're watching Coastal Living. We're here with Tina Canary of New Life Refuge Ministries, here to tell us about your passion to help put a stop to trafficking in general, but specifically child sex trafficking.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. We're honored to have you. And we've touched on this topic a little before, but this is something that we need to continue to raise awareness and elaborate on because it's happening everywhere.
Yes.
And there's so many different ways for it to happen. So tell us the main point of our topic today.
Oh, certainly. New Life Refuge Ministries is working to end child trafficking, and we do that through our Refuge of Hope, which is actually a place of healing for the child survivors to work through their trauma. We also educate the community to increase the awareness, to identify this crime, and to prevent it. We also have a network of partnerships that range from local, national agencies to leaders in the community that come together with us for the healing and the support of the children that have been trafficked, but to identify the traffickers and the buyers and get them prosecuted
Stopping
as well.
Stopping it at the root of the evil,
Yes.
right? Okay, and this is something, just to get real with some of our viewers, I mean, it's happening everywhere, and this isn't just like the movie Taken, you know, when you're out of town. This is happening on social media. It's happening through apps that your kids are using. They don't know who they're interacting with. Tell me about how serious that is.
Well, truly, it is a global epidemic that's in every neighborhood, like you mentioned. The kids that get lured in don't understand that there's a false relationship. So yes, the abductions happen and the children are brought in from other areas, but that's not the standard of how the children are trapped. It is that false relationship that is created either in person or online.
Absolutely, and let's go over some numbers to really bring this into reality.
There is a study that was done in 2017 that said there was an estimated 79,000 children in Texas, our Texas kids, that were being trafficked. And when you narrow that down to the Corpus Christi area, you're looking at 2,900 children who are being trafficked here in this area.
And what is the recovery rate from something like that? How often do we have, not a success story, but a survival story of these kids coming back to home and us finding out who did this? Truly,
there is a staggering only 1% of the children that are rescued. And when that happens, when they're identified, the law enforcement and other groups will route those children to folks like us at the New Life Refuge Ministries to help them heal so they can have healthy lives after all of that trauma.
Absolutely, and I'm sure you know some people go through this within their own families, not necessarily the trafficking, but the other part, and it's tragic because they deal with that silently throughout the rest of their lives, and that's what leads to emotional stress and things like that, other issues down the road. So we're grateful we have you there for that. How do we protect ourselves and our own children from becoming victims?
Just truly be aware that it's happening here in our neighborhoods, that it can happen at home, that it can happen through schools. There are recruiters that identify the children, and when they find that child that has a need, they will fill that need and then create that false relationship.
The grooming process, right? To get them to trust. And again, like you mentioned, I mean, they're interacting with people. They think it's just another 12-year-old that's their age and wants to hang out at the park or whatever it might be. Or I'm very into this because I witnessed a lecture the other day that really dove into numbers and the semantics of the apps that they're using, and some that aren't monitored. They're not monitoring your conversations, and that's purely what they are. It's to connect with complete strangers, and you have no idea who they are, where they're coming from, and it can lead to very, very tragic situations. We've seen viral videos of girls being followed home because they're not aware of their surroundings. So what are some things we can take note of? We want to be tuned in with our child's social media.
Absolutely. Parental controls on all of the equipment that the children use. Just know your child, talk to them, interact with them, know their friends, know their comings and goings, be plugged in. Online is just a wealth of problems because there's so many apps. They have shut down some of the apps that have been utilized, but that's another one will show up. So truly as parents and as concerned adults, we need to be paying attention to what these kiddos are doing.
Absolutely, and regardless of how much you trust your children too, because you can have the most trustworthy child, but because of the good heart that they have, they may be trusting the wrong people, which leads to some pretty tragic situations.
Agreed.
Absolutely. So let's go back to what New Life is doing to help the people in our community. You mentioned that you're helping them recover from these experiences. How can the community help you all to do an even bigger job at what you're
doing. Excellent. Well, we actually offer the opportunity to go out and speak to any group that will request it, to give them all of the details on how to protect themselves, their children, those in their environment, teach the children how to communicate when there is an issue, to step outside of that fear that has been placed upon them.
Absolutely. Okay, so you're willing to visit schools, any type of community groups, even if it's just a family that wants you to come and talk to them?
Absolutely.
Amazing. And that's the information?
That is also the hotline that is available. It's a national hotline, and that is something that if it's an emergency, obviously call 911. But the national hotline is there to take any lead, because you just don't know. The folks that have been trapped in the trafficking may not be able to call for themselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so you may need to be the one that takes that step and enacts that call or text.
And you know what? That reminds me of a story I saw on Facebook of a man who noticed an uncomfortable girl in an airplane, and he was passing notes and she was just nodding yes or no because he picked up on that. So it's not only being aware of your surroundings to protect yourself, but if you're keen on that as much as this man was, he ended up saving that girl's life and reporting, and sure enough, she had been in the process of being trafficked. So it's a very dangerous world out there. You have to be aware. And thank you so much for what you're doing here in the community. One more time, how can we reach out to you and help?
You can absolutely get onto the website, newliferefuge.com. That way, if you want to request a speaker or training, we can do that. You can check out the events that we have going on, volunteer opportunities. So we just would love to have more of the community step up, know how to identify and prevent this as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Tina, for everything you're doing to help. And we encourage you all at home to reach out and help and be more conscious of what's going on around you. All right, coming up next, Jocelyn went shopping at the Salvation Army and found some really great pieces. Who says you can't look cute on a budget? Stick with us to see what she put together.